It's the political breakup heard round the world. President Trump severing ties with at least one of his closest allies, declaring, "I am withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene," even calling for primary challenges against his one-time loyalists and attacking her as, quote, wacky, a ranting lunatic, a RINO, and a traitor. This is days before the House of Representatives is set to vote on releasing the Epstein files. It's a stunning breach between two MAGA leaders, one of whom is here with me now exclusively for her first interview since the president cut ties. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, thank you so much for being here. As you just heard, and I know you saw, the president says he's withdrawing support for you, encouraging primary challengers. You were one of his biggest supporters. What do you think happened here?
Well, Dana, thank you for having me on, and that is true. I stood with President Trump when virtually no one else did. Campaigned all over the country, spent millions of my own dollars helping him get elected, and I think that's incredibly important. And I do support him and his administration, and I support them in delivering the campaign promises we made to the American people. His remarks, of course, have been hurtful. However, I have something in my heart that I think is incredibly important for our country, and that is to end the toxic fighting in politics. And this has been going on for years, and it has divided our country, split up friends and families, neighbors, and it's not solving our problems. The most hurtful thing he said, which is absolutely untrue, is he called me a traitor, and that is so extremely wrong. And those are the types of words used that can radicalize people against me and put my life in danger.
What do you think happened? What do you think is the reason for this?
Unfortunately, it has all come down to the Epstein files, and that is shocking. And, you know, I stand with these women. I stand with rape victims. I stand with children who are in terrible sex abuse situations. And I stand with survivors of trafficking and those that are trapped in sex trafficking. And I will not apologize for that. I believe the country deserves transparency in these files. And I don't believe that rich, powerful people should be protected if they have done anything wrong. And so I'm standing with the women, and I will continue to do my small part to get the files released.
You said on X yesterday, quote, "It's astonishing really how hard he's fighting to stop the Epstein files from coming out, and that it really makes you wonder what is in those files." Are you suggesting there's something in the Epstein files that President Trump does not want Americans to see?
Well, I think that's the part that has so many people confused, is that the women themselves that I have talked to have over and over again said that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. Quite a few of them even told me they voted for him. And those are the women I would like to see in the Oval Office with support. I would like to see all of the women there with support. I have no idea what's in the files. I can't even guess, but that is the questions everyone is asking, is why fight this so hard?
Well, before this blow up, you sort of alluded to this just now. You said you were confident the president wouldn't be implicated. Are you still confident of that?
I'm listening to the women. Those are the ones that are saying that he did nothing wrong. Virginia Giuffre even said under oath that Donald Trump did nothing wrong, and she wrote it in her book. So I'm continuing to listen to the women, and I think their voices should be the loudest.
The president said the reason that you have been critical of him is not necessarily Epstein, but because he pushed you not to run for the Senate or for governor in Georgia. How and when did he do that?
Well, that is absolutely not true. Actually, I never had a conversation at all with the president about running for Senate or running for Georgia. And those were decisions I came to on my own, that I don't want to have anything to do with the Senate. I think the past 2 months of the government shutdown should have shown America exactly why I would never want to be there. I think it's a very broken institution that serves the uniparty and doesn't serve the American people and how they vote. And I decided that I didn't want to run for governor this cycle either. I very much want to do the job that I'm in. Everyone else says I'm running for something, but all I want to do is serve Georgia's 14th district. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
So he said it pretty explicitly. Are you saying he's lying, or did he at least get that message to somebody on your political team instead?
I'm not sure. But I don't. That is untrue. What he said. I don't know if he's being fed wrong information. I honestly have no idea in that area, but it is absolutely factually not true. Nor have I called him, and White House logs would prove that. His own cell phone records would prove it. I have not been calling the president, but I did post messages that I had sent to him, and that was to protect, get involved. This is important. The American people want the Epstein files released. And, I've stood with the president. I have disagreed with him at times, Dana, and I'm allowed to do that. I think that's the most important thing we can do as Americans. And I'm urging my party. I've been putting massive pressure on my party and our speaker to pass the agenda that the American people vote for. That's the agenda that I fought for. Those are the campaign promises I made. And I can disagree with the president at times, particularly this past Monday on the Marines' 250th anniversary, when he honored the new Syrian president, who is an al-Qaeda terrorist and was wanted by our government for years with a $10 million bounty up until March of this year. I very much am against that. I think that was very hurtful to the great men and women who served over in the Middle East and were sent there, and many of them that were killed and injured and live with PTSD to this day from fighting al-Qaeda. So there's things I disagree with, and I'm allowed to do so.
Well, you mentioned the Syrian leader at the White House. You've also been critical of President Trump over foreign entanglements, H-1B visas. Now he's moving military assets towards Venezuela. I do want to play something that he said this week.
Don't forget, MAGA was my idea. MAGA was nobody else's idea. I know what MAGA wants better than anybody else, and MAGA wants to see our country thrive.
Do you agree? Do you think he represents the MAGA movement as he once did?
Well, what the American people voted for with MAGA was to put the American people first and stop sending foreign aid and stop being involved in foreign wars. They very much deserve to be put first. Cost of living is far too high. Health insurance is completely out of control. And those are two issues I've been very vocal on for months and months now, long before Republicans were shocked when those big losses came on this past Tuesday's election. So I think that the American people deserve to be put first. That's what Make America Great Again meant to me. And I think that President Trump can do that if he refocuses his effort. And I think that's what I want to see. I think that's what the country wants to see. Even if he's attacking me, I do want him to be successful for the American people.
So sounds like you're saying that he is not representing the MAGA movement that he started right now.
I can say that promoting H-1B visas to replace American jobs, bringing in 600,000 Chinese students to replace American students' opportunities in American colleges and universities, those are not America First positions. And continuing to really travel all over the world doesn't help Americans back at home. I really, and I said this to him, and I will say it out loud, I would love to see Air Force One be parked and stay home, and there be nothing but a constant focus in the White House on a domestic agenda that helps the American people once and for all.
Congresswoman, you posted on X that President Trump is, with his comments, fueling a, quote, hotbed of threats against you. Obviously, any threats to your safety are completely unacceptable. But we have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And we need to be able to respect each other with our disagreements.
So just to put a button on this, you regret the things that you have said and posted in the past, the Facebook post that was taken down of you in 2020 holding a gun alongside the squad, encouraging people to go on the offense against the socialists, liking a tweet of somebody calling for the execution of Nancy Pelosi and former President Obama. Just examples.
Well, Dana, as you know, and many people know, I addressed that back in 2021. And of course, I never want to cause any harm or anything bad for anyone. So that was addressed back then, and okay. I very much stand by my words I said then, and I stand by my words today. I think America needs to come together and end all the toxic, dangerous rhetoric and divide. And I'm leading the way with my own example, and I hope that President Trump can do the same.
Okay, so on that, I do want to ask you about something you posted just yesterday on X. You questioned who and what country is putting so much pressure on Trump to keep the Epstein files hidden. And you included a picture about donations from pro-Israel lobbying group AIPAC. What are you trying to say there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's the question that many Americans are asking, especially when we saw information recently come out in these emails that the Oversight Committee that I serve on has released. And we saw Jeffrey Epstein with ties to Ehud Barak. We saw him making business deals with them, also business deals that involved the Israeli government, and seems to have led into their intel agencies. And I think the right question is to ask is, was Jeffrey Epstein working for Israel? And I'm proud to say I don't take money from AIPAC. I don't take money from any special group of people. I'm just representing my district and the American people. And so that's what I was referring to.
I just want to be clear. Are you saying Israel is pushing the President of the United States to cover up the Epstein files? And what evidence do you have that that is the case?
I simply just asked out loud, is there a foreign government? And it could be any foreign government, but is a foreign government pushing to keep this covered up? Because people just don't understand the big fight against.
Well, you had AIPAC up there. It was pretty clear which government you were talking about.
That I'm questioning that government in particular and questioning any other foreign government.
Okay, when you're talking about lowering the rhetoric, which is important for everybody to hear from you and all of our elected officials, but there is some concern, a lot of concern among Republicans about the rise of anti-Semitic hard-right figures in your movement, especially after Tucker Carlson hosted white nationalist Nick Fuentes on his podcast, didn't question Fuentes about his vile language or views. You did speak at a conference hosted by Fuentes back in 2022. You were criticized, and you said then that you didn't know about his views. Well, Fuentes talked to Carlson about that in the interview. Listen to what he said.
Well, again, with Marjorie, I was a friend of hers, and she spoke at my conference, and then the day after, she pretended like she didn't know me. She pretended like she didn't know me and lied and said I had no idea the conference I was speaking at. She knew exactly what it was.
What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, I defend every single person's free speech rights. I think that's incredibly important. So I don't apologize for that, and I don't believe in canceling people. And I think it's important for people like Tucker Carlson and yourself to interview everyone. I don't believe in trying to cancel someone by refusing to interview them and question them. And I did speak at his conference back in 2022. However, I don't know Nick Fuentes. He's someone I've never exchanged text messages with or phone calls, but I did speak at his conference. That was the first time I had met him that day, and that was it. But I did watch the interview. I watched the full interview with Tucker, and I admire him for interviewing many people as well as exposing a lot of powerful information.
I hear what you're saying.
He does on his show.
I hear what you're saying about free speech. I mean, count me as guilty as a proponent of free speech. There's free speech, and then there is hate speech. And this is a man invited on a really prominent conservative show who said, even during that interview, he had a problem with, quote, organized Jewry, and he wasn't challenged on it. In the past, he has denied the Holocaust, called Adolf Hitler effing cool, talked about the fact that he thought Jim Crow was just fine, and on and on. So again, there's free speech, and then there's just hateful language and sentiments.
Well, Dana, again, I told you on this interview that I'm committed to ending the toxic politics, and I think I don't want to have anything to do with it. You should have Nick Fuentes on your show, and you could ask him questions about that. I myself am not anti-Semitic. I have never criticized the Jewish people or said anything about them in particular. I am critical of the government of Israel, and I can criticize any government I want to in the entire world, as well as our own. And a lot of the times I am criticizing our own government for failing the American people. And I think that needs to be the focus, and that's the most important thing people care about, is being able to afford groceries, housing, health insurance, and having a good quality of life.
Yeah, and I hear you saying you're not anti-Semitic, and you've said it before, and you know, some of the posts that you have put up, which you have apologized for, certainly have tropes in them that have been used historically against Jews. But I do want to end this conversation with a question to you, and that is, do you see a situation where you and President Trump can make up? And if not, do you think you have a future in the GOP?
Well, I certainly hope that we can make up. And there's, you know, again, I can only speak for myself. I'm a Christian, and one of the most important parts of our faith is forgiveness, and that's something I'm committed to. That's why I can easily come on your show that is watched all over the world, and I can say things I'm sorry for, and I can try to set an example of how I think we should move forward as Americans. And so, of course, on my end, I believe in that, and I certainly hope to see that happen.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, I appreciate you coming on this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dana.
What difference at this point does it make?
Join the movement. Feel the vibe. TrumpRap.com, where truth and rhythm collide.